been following my office build, you know that I have these 8x8 steel posts that are supporting the second floor in my shop. I didn't build the walls to flush them out. I wanted them to stick out on this side rather than the other side. And I want to cap these with rough sawn wood, but I don't want to make a faux post where you miter the corners and it doesn't look like an actual solid wooden post. It's going to be a lot harder, but I've milled some full dimension posts that I'm going to hollow out the back side of that will cap these steel beams and make them look like it's a wooden post that goes from floor to ceiling. I'm going to start in the back corners where I have a much smaller area to cover. Some of you mentioned in previous videos how echoey it is in here, and you're not wrong. So I picked up a bunch of these acoustic panels from Home Depot that are going to go on this back wall. For this corner, I've milled a 3.5 by 4.5 post. I need to figure out how much to notch out the back. I need to notch this side of it for that panel to sit into. And I also need to notch this side against the wall because I'm going to put LED lights on both sides of the posts all the way around the room for a little more crazy lighting. This is the widest part, so it looks like 3.5 inches by 2 inches should give me plenty of space to encapsulate that steel beam. All right, this is one of my corner posts. I milled these up yesterday. As you can see, this has got a pitch seam in it that's leaking. So I'm going to take my notch out of this side to get rid of that imperfection. This side looks good. So I'll set up my table saw for a 3.5 inch rip and then a 2 inch rip, or 2.5, 2 inch. Those of you who've been here for a while might remember my handmade timber framing slick made by my friend Jeff from Jeff Goodson Woodworking Channel. Still use it. Still works great. Now this is the LED diffuser that I'm going to be using that I want to kind of sit, I want the diffuser part to sit flush with the outside of this. So I'm pretty much going to be cutting off everything here. So I need the thickness of this and the thickness of those sound deadening panels to come out of here. So this is 3/4 of an inch wide, and I believe those sound deadeners are almost a full inch. So probably not going to be much left of that when I'm done. All right, let's see if I can explain what I'm trying to do here. So imagine this is the wall. I'm going to have these LEDs that will broadcast out against the wall. The steel column is here. So basically I need to take that much off of here. All right, guys, I think I got it here. We'll have one LED diffuser there. This will be up against the wall, so that sound deadening panel will butt up to here. This one will go here. I think we got a winner. I left this little sliver in here to give me something to space this off of, as well as hold this edge off of the wall equally all the way down. Oof. Ah. Looks like it's a little bit too long on one end. I'm gonna have to take this and cut it down. That'll work real nice. Oh yeah. Now they say you can use glue or screws to fasten this, and I don't want to see screw heads, so I'm going to use some construction adhesive and some finish nails to hold it in place while it's drying. Just needs to hold it in place until that glue dries. It should work just fine. Houston, we had a problem. As you can see, I had panels up and I've removed them. Once I got my top installed level across, I figured I could just start slamming the rest of these on like regular tiles. As I went, I started to notice that these tiles are not as precisely built as one would hope. And the gaps here were off and the boards weren't lining up. And with the contrasting color, you could really see it. Maybe I was the only one that would see it, but it was going to drive me nuts. So before the glue set up, I pulled them down. I've got my little table saw up here. I'm going to use it to trim the edges, and I'm going to have to basically custom fit each one the best I can. So I'm going to slow down a little bit, and I'm going to fit each one of these so that I can get this wall finished. You can kind of see I probably should have taken this one down. They're not perfectly lined up there. And I do plan, I'm gonna have a feature piece across here which will probably cover this. Possibly. I might put it up higher to keep it out of the way of my head, but I'm gonna start refitting this. I also found that most of my pin nails went almost completely through this fabric. So I'm gonna turn the gun down a little bit so that maybe they don't go quite so hard through. You see here the spaces on a panel compared to the space where two panels meet is also not the same. Something I wasn't really paying attention to when I put it up. So I don't know, maybe I'm being a little too critical, but this is stuff that's gonna stick out to me. I need to rip just a little bit off of this edge so that I get these to line up. Well, we'll see how the table saw does with this material. It'll probably make a mess. Whoopsies. Didn't like that. Well, it cut it pretty cleanly. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's what it needed. I also had a whole bunch of wonkiness between this gap, and hopefully I can eliminate that now as well. All right, well, this is looking pretty good. I'm definitely glad I took down those panels and spent a little more time fitting everything. It's not 1000% perfect. If you looked super close, you'd see some variances, but now there's nothing that draws your eyes to a weird gap or what have you. So I need to get some baseboard trim, and I am really excited to start figuring out how these LEDs are going to go. And my accent piece, I need to get that started so I can figure out if I want to incorporate these lights into that, which I'm sure I do. So, well, I just need to get to it. These diffusers come with these little metal clips that you can screw to whatever you want to fasten them to, and then they'll snap in, but I'm just going to go ahead and put some construction adhesive in there and glue these in. Once I pick out my baseboard material, I'll know how far down I can go, and then I'll cut off another piece of that track to fill in the gap. All right, guys, well, I've decided to go with this 5-inch baseboard size. I don't know that I'm going to stick with the MDF, but that has determined the height of my tracks, and so I've got all of the LED track glued in. I ended up painting the side walls kind of a bluish gray color because it matches kind of nicely the faux weathering of the boards in my floor. And I have 6 gallons of it. And now it's time to get into the fun part. I've got LED strips, wire, connectors, LED controllers, more connectors, splitters, power source. We are going to put these LED strips in these channels, and it should make a pretty cool effect in here. So basically I need 2 89-inch long LED strips for each corner. These rolls are just over 16 feet long, and you can cut them on any of those copper pads. So basically at each LED, I can cut this and solder on new wires and make as many sections as I need. All right, I got my LED strip laid out. 89 looks like it's falling right in the middle of a chip. I'm just gonna go one past it. And I'll do that 3 more times. All right, guys, well, I've got 2 of my cutoff strips here. The other 2 have a pigtail that was soldered to them factory. And it's been a minute since I've done any soldering. Things have changed a little bit. I have this cordless soldering iron that looks to be pretty amazing. I've got some solder. I got my pigtails, but now I've got to solder these teeny tiny wires to these teeny tiny copper pads. So it was pretty crazy timing when a company called Noevsbig, I believe, Noevsbig, reached out and asked if I'd like to try out a product they have. And I said, your timing is insane, because I have a soldering project I'm working on, and this is going to help immensely. What I have here is a powder-coated steel plate and several magnetic attachments for helping me hold the materials that I'm soldering while I'm doing the soldering. And the magnets are no joke. We've got all different types of configurable clamping situations, all sorts of flexibility, all sorts of strength. This vise is really cool. But there's one more thing that came with this that is going to make things a lot easier, especially for me. These bits are so small that this magnifying glass is going to be a game changer. Even with my readers on, it's hard to see. Just that easy. Wow. Easy peasy. Now to install these strips in the tracks, there's an adhesive backing and they'll just stick to the track, super simple. I bought 1 meter and 2 meter long diffuser sets. These corners are just over 2 meters long, so I've got a 10-inch section. And I've got the track cut at the bottom, so rather than put the joint in the diffuser on the joint in the track, I'm going to offset them so that the length of this diffuser will help stabilize where the joint is in the aluminum track. And these just snap into the rails. All right, well, I have both corners fully installed. I just need to make a jumper wire to go from this corner to this corner to my controller, which I will temporarily have just plugged in here. Eventually, I'm going to tie all of this into the posts that will go on these steel columns, but I am still working on that, and I think I'm going to need to get some more LED strips ordered. So for now, we're just gonna set up this side so that we can see how it all looks and go ooh and ah. Some of you might already know why I've staggered these joints here, but for the rest of you. This roll of wire I bought came with a little bit of heat shrink. And by staggering the solders, I don't have to isolate between them because they can't touch. Now, just for the sake of being able to test this out, I've got stuff kind of temporarily wired into the controller. And the controller plugged in. So it's just time to give it a whirl and see if it works. All right, guys, so just to recap, the controller has a program on it called WLED, which has an app which connects to the Wi-Fi, which is in your phone. So everything is controlled through the phone. It's got a bazillion presets. It's actually super easy to use. There's a channel called Chris Mayer who has done many tutorials on all of this. His channel's cost me over $1,000 since watching and figuring out all the stuff that I need, including my outdoor lights on my house. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on. Not bad. We can change the colors infinitely, which is pretty cool. But here's where it gets really fun. There's got to be 50 or 60 different preset settings that you can do. And some of the settings are sound sensitive. So we'll try DJ Light. Boom. Cool. I can change the colors of that. Drip. That's nice for if you want to make it look like your office is leaking. Here's a cool one. It's called Fireworks. Looks like bottle rockets going in the air and exploding. That's cool. Let's turn up the brightness a little bit. This one's called Meteor. Here's another sound sensitive one. Here's kind of a cool sound sensitive one. I think lava is one of my more favorite colors. Bouncing balls. But again, you can just do solid colors and just have some ambient lighting, which is really cool. These diffusers do a great job of blending out each individual LED so that you don't see them. This one's called Fire. What about this one, guys? It's cool. Well, that's gonna do it for this one, guys. What do you think? Am I overdoing it? I hope not, because I'm just getting started. I'm really loving how this is coming out, and I've got a long way to go. I've gotten started on my accent board and my covers for the other two posts. I'm going to get some more LED strips coming so that I can get it all finished up, and I think this is going to be a really cool space once it's all finished. Speaking of finishing though, this weekend I'm going to be milling some cedar to make fence boards for a fence that I'm going to build at my mother-in-law's new place on the Oregon coast. I'll be bringing you guys along on that one. I may have a big black walnut conference table to build here soon, so you'll definitely be coming along on that one too. So there's a lot coming up. Stick around, guys. We'll see you soon.